Feel like I was just doing a show not too long ago with Sia last night. Happy New Year's to everybody. We're stay working here at Win Daily. We're coming off a serious show. We're on the airways for about 3 hours. Watching some good college football games, Dave. I know you're big into college football, so hope you enjoyed New Year's Eve with the fam. Me and you like the two old guys, the only guys who can wake up on New Year's Day and not be hungover. I didn't drink. I got iced tea next to me, but I didn't sleep much. I let my daughter crashed in our room last night, and she was like snoring, kicking me while I'm sleeping. So I'm more tired. Didn't drink at all. Not hungover. Just a little bit tired. But two good games. Ended up betting TCU. I have no clue who's good, who's bad. But I followed my guy Steve. He was on TCU. He was also on Ohio State, but I kind of got scared about that one. It looked a little bit scary against Georgia. That actually covered as well. So if you had those bets, you were locked in with us. You were at Win Daily at the Sharp app. C and I were betting live last night as well. We got a lot of bets. I got some bets this week that I feel like the books got wrong on a couple props. We'll go over some props. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. It's a new year. We're going to stay with the winning ways. Hop over to WinDailySports.com. Use promo code WINBIG. Hop into that expert chat when we're done with this show. We'll be breaking down lineups there. Got projection models, lineup optimizers. Maybe we'll showcase those a little bit while we do the show. The 13-game slate, Dave. There's some meaningless games. There's some meaningful games. There's some question mark games. There's some potential shootout games. There's some good low ownership spots. There's value. There's everything on this slate. But, Dave, how you feeling, man? You're going into Week 17. You got a championship, a Win Daily championship. I got knocked out in the first round. I'm a big loser. Six picks lost. Didn't even make the playoffs. A couple other guys had a nice little run. But we got you and Isaiah in the championship. You got any questions for me? Is there anybody that you're still potentially tinkering, or are you locked in, ready to take it down, man?
I think I'm locked in. I almost sent you a question Thursday night. I got a little worried when Pollard went out, and that's gonna hurt. And I picked up Haskins. I almost plugged him in, and I said, you know what? I got enough depth that I don't have to do that. I guess my big one to you would be, where's your comfort level on Zach Moss? Because watching what we saw with Indianapolis the other night, they're a hot mess. But he got 90% of the snaps because they hate Deion Jackson. He got
the fact that that news came out afterwards, everybody's grumpy on the showdown. Like, everybody liked Deion Jackson, and like the news came out like he's not a good guy in the locker room right now. So Moss, who's your other picks? Obviously, I think you made the right move. Holding out on Haskins. That was a gut call there. I think you ended up making the right call. He got those touches, but he didn't have like a great game where some people expected. Who's your other options right now?
So Rachaad White, who's actually been very solid for me because of the pass catching ability, put up about 15, 16 the other week to really help close it out in the semis. Or James Cook on Monday night, who's been really on the uptick, but just doesn't get enough snaps. And I think Cincy's a pretty tough matchup.
So it's between Moss and our guy White. Yeah. It's funny, man. I look, anytime anybody asks me questions, I use the cheat code. I go to our projection models.
Yeah.
And pretty funny, man. Zach Moss is directly above Rachaad White. Nobody else in between out of all the running backs. It's 10.73 to 10.53. Moss with the slight lean there. Look, Moss is the guy. So you'll get the volume there, safer floor. I would say this. Looking at our optimizer too, which has like a separate set of projections here to see how they're leaning. 13.01 for Moss, and Rachaad White's down to 11. The way I saw it last week was they're feeding Fournette a bunch, man. They really are feeding Fournette, slightly ahead. I don't like the offense for Indianapolis. It's not like I'm in love with the offense for Tampa Bay. So I think you stay Moss, man. That's your gut play. Rock with it. But let's break down this slate, man. Good luck to that. Have a happy and healthy new year. To all the listeners, everybody out there, make sure you like and subscribe. A lot of great content coming your way. It's not just NFL. My favorite slates for NFL are coming up, man. The holiday slates, love them. Playoff slates, love them even more. There's really no question marks. We know who's playing, who they want to get the ball with. They're all, win or go home type of games. So lock in with us. Go to WinDailySports.com. Use promo code WINBIG to go free. I think everybody's going to just forget about Patrick Mahomes. Looking at his box scores, dude puts up 30 in half his games. He goes over 20 in almost every game. and he never really lays out a dud. The problem with Mahomes is who do you pair him up with? But we're going to go down position by position, break it down a little bit different today. It's a 13-game slate. We got Mahomes up top on our projection model. Justin Herbert, number 2. And Dave, surprising to some, Jared Goff is number 3. A lot of people riding Goff. A lot of people are riding Goff for their fantasy football championships. Maybe they had Jalen Hurts like Sia had last night. So those are the top 3, man. Goff is in a spot against Chicago at home with weapons. They want to win. They got to show up. They got to win this game. How do you feel about Goff? Is he the best value guy, or are you fading the potential chalk there with Jared Goff for that price tag on DraftKings?
I'll get right to you. There are a couple of questions in the chat. I just want to answer real fast. Lazard or Judy? It's Judy all day for me. But if Watson's out, that changes things a little bit with 11 targets last week to Lazard, I think, versus a bad Minnesota team. But as long as Watson's in, it's Judy. You're going against the 29th worst pass defense against fantasy receivers in the league in the Chiefs. Cousins or Goff, it's Goff. And then lastly, Evans or London, it's Drake London. We'll talk more about that. But as you talked about quarterbacks, and you asked me, is Goff the best value on the board? No. But is he my favorite quarterback on the board at that price tag? Yeah, probably. The best value to me, if you want to take a risk, is a guy like David Blau. But,
don't do that. Don't do that.
4K versus the second worst pass defense in the league with weapons like Hopkins and such. Just hear me out.
Hopkins is out, though. Just remember that Hopkins ain't playing, even though he didn't want to play last week anyways.
Yeah.
I don't know. I trust Goff, who's proven it week in, week out.
Goff. I'm just saying value. If you're going to get probably 3 to 4x maybe out of Blau. Goff, if you could get a 20-point game easily. You really can at 5,600. I think he's a great play. He's in my. I like to set, and I think you do the same, pick 3 to 4 quarterbacks and build my lineups around that. He's definitely in that 3 to 4 pot.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson played some of his props a couple weeks ago. He burned me. He had to throw for 2 passing touchdowns. He couldn't get there. I know our guy Six Picks likes him. The reason why he likes him is pretty simple. He's 5,800 going against Washington in a game where not many people are going to be playing Deshaun Watson. Not many people are going to be playing anybody from the Cleveland side. So he's in a spot that I think he's sneaky. In regards to Mike White, I love this story. I like the matchup. I like the weapons he has. So I might lean White over Deshaun Watson, but Watson might run for a little bit more. He's got to prove something before the season's out, even though he signed up for a big deal. I do like Mike White a little bit at 5,400. I don't mind Daniel Jones. I don't mind Mac Jones if you want to play, 150. I think all these guys are playable. Even your guy Gardner Minshew is playable.
Yes, he
is. And I think Bridgewater as well. I'm not going down to Russell Wilson. I know he did it, or kind of did it versus Kansas City and got hurt. He was putting up some decent stat lines there. But I think Bridgewater, nobody wants to give this guy credit. On our prop model, we got him over 240. He has all the weapons. Pretty good matchup. Not a great matchup against New England, but must-win game. He's got to show up for the Dolphins here. So at $5,000, it's the lowest I'll pretty much go. Maybe get a share of Blau, but I'm not really on this guy. Goff in a good spot. I think everybody's forgetting about Herbert. And the reason why I like Herbert, they're just going to pass the ball a ton. They're going to pass the ball probably 30, close to 40 times this game. He's not really popular as far as ownership goes. I know who I want to pair him up with is Keenan Allen, maybe Mike Williams, but definitely Keenan Allen gets the nod over Mike Williams right now. Good matchup against the Rams, and the Rams are actually trying to play ball. They're not just going to roll over here. Somehow, some way, Baker's doing his thing right now. Cam Akers looks good. Higbee's got the okay. He's going to play. So they're, I guess, somewhat at close to full strength. So they're going to try to put up points. And then they've been putting up points. Chargers have to win this game. Big game for them. So I think Herbert shows up 7,100. If you don't want to pay up for the top dogs with Mahomes, I think Herbert's in a great spot at 7,100. We have him as our second highest rated on the model as far as raw points go. Go to windailysports.com. Use promo code WINBIG. You'll see all this. Your thoughts on Justin Fields, though?
Yeah.
Everybody kind of fades him. Like, he's just pricey. There's nobody you really want to pair him with. So your thoughts on Fields? Are you going to play any shares there, or are you staying away?
No, I'll play a little bit of shares. And Bri, thanks for checking in. I will play Blau a little bit, but you're right. I mean, I was just throwing out a dart, just saying he's worth it once we get into the running back wide receiver area and talk about a lot of good plays there are out there today. But hey, as far as fields go, you have a team a total of 52.5, implied team total of about 23, 24. I got to get some fields in there. It's a little expensive. I'll run them naked like we have most of the time with Justin Fields. But yes, I will get him out there. I think the rushing potential, he had 145 against Detroit the first time they played, which was only about 7 weeks ago. So I think Fields is a good play. That whole game is a great game environment. Obviously, he's going to be a favorite of many, and I probably won't stay in there too long. And I have more favorites outside of the quarterbacks in that game.
Yeah, one other guy, when this slate first opened up, this was a game that I kind of penciled in that I wanted to get shares of. It's Minnesota Green Bay.
Yeah.
I lean the Aaron Rodgers side here. Must win again. I want quarterbacks. I want players who are in must-win spots. Matchup, they're going to have to put up points. They're actually favored. These Vikings will never get any respect until they're in the Super Bowl. They still won't get respect. They're probably, if they ever make the Super Bowl, they'll be like 2 touchdown dogs. Even if they wipe the slate clean getting there. Nobody likes them. Vegas don't like them. Green Bay's got to win. $6,000, Aaron Rodgers, under-owned right now, in a good spot. I'll have some shares of Rodgers. Now, when it comes down to Rodgers, obviously I would prefer if Watson plays. He's going to try to give it a go. Limited participant in his last practice. Didn't really do much work on the field. So maybe decoy, maybe plays, maybe solid, maybe rested. He didn't play much, the last game. Came out, scored a couple points as far as receiving yards, stuff like that. But either way, I think Rodgers is in play. I really do. I think they're going to have to put up points against Minnesota. I prefer him over Cousins. Rodgers got to do his thing, man. He really does. I prefer Rodgers over Cousins. I prefer him over Brady. In that mid-range, that's probably the guy I can take a shot on. And the other one bit of news, yesterday we were talking about on Sirius, fade or not fade Trevor Lawrence. Last night we were thinking that Jacksonville probably doesn't play all their guys. I'm hearing coach talk. I think Schefter came out and saying that the Jags are playing to win this game. Whether we believe them or not, that's what they're saying. So if that's the case, they've always struggled against the Texans. It's like the one team they can't beat for whatever reason. Texans playing tough too. So I don't want to go all in, but I think Lawrence will be under-owned due to the fact that some people just cross them off their list, going into the slate.
So I'll just throw one thing with Rodgers. 0 300-yard games, 1 3-touchdown game all season. Won over 20 DK points once, and it was 20.4. I just don't know if it's there. But at 6K versus a terrible pass defense, I hear you, and I think that's where you might get some low ownership. And if you're just looking for him to get 23, 24, which would break, that would be a great spot. I think you could get a sneaky under-owned Rodgers. I'm just forewarning you. They just seem like a different team this year offensively. Same with Brady, right? It's hard to trust Brady anymore. But I think you have something with Rodgers. He could break it with people not looking. So I like it.
Yeah, so let's slide over to the running back position. We'll get to some questions as well. Up top, it's McCaffrey. It's Saquon Barkley. If I'm paying up, it's one of those two guys. San Fran has something to play for. Giants definitely have something to play for here. Both guys in good spots. Great matchup for McCaffrey, but how much do we see of McCaffrey? Do we need to see 4 quarters against a Raiders team without Derek Carr? This team is kind of just folded. Disappointment season. Them and the Broncos just kind of shit the bed the entire year. McCaffrey, 9,000. I'm not going to force him into any lineups. If there's a lineup that I make and I have that much salary left over for a flex spot or running back spot, obviously he's a good play. Barkley, probably the better play with the 1K discount. They have to win. Big game for them. Tough kind of matchup against Indianapolis, but not, an impossible matchup to beat. Dalvin Cook, nice value play as well. $7,000 mid-range, high-paced game against Green Bay. He kind of worries me sometimes. He comes off the field, comes out of the game plan, but then he rolls off like a 70-yard screen pass or a run. He's in play. Kind of off Eckler. Out of this bunch, if I'm going to pay up, I'll probably just, stick to Saquon or go out to McCaffrey. Eckler, kind of like in a tier where, the ball is going to Keenan, the ball is going to Mike Williams. He's not running the ball effectively here. A good matchup, but not a great matchup against the Rams. So I'm kind of off Eckler. Aaron Jones, super interesting. Him and Dylan are fighting, though. They're really fighting for shares. Kind of like them more in a prop market where you can get a low number on them, but the ceiling is not really there for either of these two guys. But I'm not taking Aaron Jones or Dylan out of my player pool, both in a great spot. James Conner, the volume will be there, but the touchdowns probably won't be. Like, I don't see them really moving the ball much. So that's my worry with Conner. All the volume, but if he doesn't score touchdowns at $7,200, I don't know if he can get there. And then, talk about that budge, Dave. Is there a guy that you're in love with out of that, 7,200 and above price tag?
Yeah, I do like Conner a lot. Atlanta 23rd in pass DVOA. I'm rush DVOA. And with the quarterback like Blau, I think it's got to be check down city. A guy, he's going to be the safety blanket. I think it's 5+ catches. So I do like Conner in that range. You talked about McCaffrey. Here's the thing about McCaffrey. Maybe he doesn't get all 4 quarters. We'll see how that game kind of scripts out. But the Raiders are the worst pass defense against running backs in the league. He's going to get his touches in the air as well. And that always, doubles up, triples up a running back's value pretty quick. So I think there is some merit into taking McCaffrey today. And then also, looking 7,200 above, you mentioned it. He's right at 7,000, but Cook is really a really nice spot for the 32nd rush DVOA defense in the league in the Green Bay Packers. So the Cook, McCaffrey, Conner out of those top 6, I really like.
Dave, we're going to be talking about some props too. I haven't bet this one yet. I want to pull it up real quick, but talk to me about McCaffrey. His number on receiving props was super low. I wrote it down yesterday. I didn't bet it. That's one of your props? All right, because I didn't bet it yet. I don't know if I should bet it now before the number goes up. I wrote it down. I gave it out on Sirius saying, look, this is what I'm looking at. What did you get it at? Because I seen it. Last night I wrote it down at over 25.5 receiving yards. Is it still there or has it gone up since then?
No, it unfortunately it's way up. It's 31.5. I locked in at 29.5.
Out of here, man. Yeah.
And I locked it in
I got it in my notes for Sirius. I didn't bet it. I was like, nah, let me hold off. I want to see what happens. Yeah. Really, it's up six across the board, or is there anywhere I can get it cheap?
Well, I have to look. Those are my 2 main places I look is 31.5 and 30.5. But yeah. It popped pretty quick.
Yeah, it was there last night too, man. That's why you gotta get these props early. We have a prop model over at WinDailySports.com. I locked in some big ones. We'll get to those. These are some receivers that I like, but I just want to see what he's still at. Yeah, damn it. It's 31, the lowest number, and it's up to 35 in spots. Ooh. That's a lot. What do you got it at 25 too?
No, I think 28.5 last night or 29.5. I had it during the Georgia game. I went in and grabbed it.
Yeah, so. I saw it like early in the day. At a point, you could have got it at 25.5. But I want to ask you about Miles Sanders, man. I was actually kind of shocked. I was looking at the prop market along with our projection models and our prop models and our articles. Miles Sanders, man, he has a high rushing prop. It was close to 80 or 78 last time I checked. Yeah. 77, 78. Is he the guy today? Because I don't know what the hell's up with Sirianni. Sometimes, like, you look at the box score, and he doesn't even run the ball in the entire first quarter. I don't know if he's punished. And then he comes out and tweets at the end of the game, like, F your fantasy team. I really can care less about it. So what's your thoughts on Sanders? Is it the Sanders show with Minshew there? Are they going to keep working Gainwell and Scott into the mix here? Is Sanders safe?
Yeah, he's super safe. And Brian will probably vouch for this too. But when we lose Lane Johnson, the star tackle for our team for the next couple of weeks with the pectoral injury, I really think this is a focused run game today. Versus Dallas, they did expose some of the run game and they were able to move the ball in that area, but they also had some great down the field shots, and the guy was Devontae. So I think Miles Sanders and his prop are very safe plays today. I think he goes over that 77.5. I think he's a workhorse today. And I really like the Eagles to just try and control this game physically, play a slower pace game this week with Minshew. And I love his play today. I love him at 5,900 too in DraftKings. I think he's a really, really strong play.
Yeah, between Sanders and Brian Robinson, if you want to build a cash game lineup, that's probably the way I would go. 5,900, 5,200. I was texting Sticks and Sia last night. The prop market loves these two guys. They're basically giving them, 80 yards and a touchdown each. And at that price tag, 5,900, 5,200 for cash, it's probably the way to go. Now in GPPs, there's a couple other pieces here that I'll mention. Sia's on Algier. He likes Algier. Yes. I'm not really. I haven't seen enough from this guy and this offense to really get that GPP, touchdown equity. But he can definitely get there at 5,300. I will have some shares because I trust Sia. Leonard Fournette, I think, is kind of sneaky here. He's getting more volume than White. 5,600. They're gonna be pepping him, with targets out of the backfield, catching some balls, goal line back as well. If he catches 6 balls for 45, runs the ball for 60, 70 yards and a touchdown, you're there. Your hit value, 5,600. I know Sticks is on Pachenko again, 5,600. He likes him to go out there and do his thing. C and I were talking about a sneaky Cam Akers. I don't know if he's sneaky anymore, but he's getting volume. They're moving the ball. You can run in the Chargers. So I think if you want to get sneaky, it's Akers, it's Pacheco, it's Fournette, Algier, Robinson, Sanders. That's where the value lies for me. And I also think people are kind of forgetting Ramondre Stevenson and David Montgomery too. 2 guys that are in games that could be high scoring, against Miami and against Detroit. You could see high scoring games here. And these guys are kind of forgotten. And if it's not Aaron Jones, I think A.J. Dillon, too, for GPPs only, he can easily score 2 touchdowns here, could have a massive game. Aaron Jones a little bit banged up, too, if any reason he goes out in this game. I don't predict injuries, but he's coming in with, a sore foot here. So A.J. Dillon could be in for 2 touchdowns as well. Dave, out of the value guys, man, which guys are you locking in with?
Acres of love. I think that's a great call there. I think even if we dip below 6K, there are a couple other. I think the Fournette call is very interesting. See, here's the thing with Fournette and White, and we talked about in the opening. They really flip-flop every other series. That's all they do. And the series last week that Fournette got more of the touches were the ones that they had longer drives. So I don't know if that's consistent for me. So that's my only concern with Pacheco. But then I look even further down. We talked Zach Moss earlier. Watch out for Zonovan Knight, too, at the 5,100. Seattle really bad against running backs. If we don't like Mike White, I think you could pop with a under-owned Jets running back. And don't forget about Kenneth Walker, right in the 6,200 range there. 26 carries last week. Pete Carroll said he's fully rested. They're going all in on this game. Jets very good defensively through the air, but you can get them a little bit on the ground. So I think Kenneth Walker I think that game in total could be a little sneaky game to get some good value out of.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about the coach talk, but ETN's never moved, as far as the prop market goes. So maybe Vegas knew that Jacksonville's going to roll out their team. 6,400, GPPs only. It's going to be no ownership on this guy. He could be in play as well. But let's slide over to wide receiver. I got some big props in the wide receiver game. I'll talk about that in a second. But if you look at our team here right now, Tyreek Hill, number 1, over Justin Jefferson. Jefferson might have, some Zaire Alexander to deal with, but he kind of torched that team early. Zaire said it was a fluke. Everybody's going to be playing Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's going to be the most popular wide receiver on the slate. Him and Garrett Wilson, last I checked, are the 2 most popular wide receivers. So, fade them at your own risk. Garrett Wilson just shouldn't be priced at 5,500, and St. Brown probably shouldn't be priced at 7,800 in a matchup against Chicago. Keenan Allen, I like him a bunch. I'm off Metcalf. I respect the Jets defense here, so I'm off Metcalf.
And Lockett's back.
And Lockett's back. Christian Kirk. Now, let me tell you my props, man. So, and if you're listening and you only play DFS, maybe you want to close your ears, because I'm not saying you got to force these guys into your lineups. But when I shop the prop market, I told you a lot of people like going to go shop for watches or shopping for clothes. Or the only shopping I like to do is I like to go grocery food shopping, get some nice meat, steak, fish, whatever. I like to shop in the prop market and also shop for stocks. I'm in the stock market every day during Monday through Friday. But the prop market, I'm all over this week. I don't know why they're discounting Tyreek Hill so much. I've been asking people kind of like a trick question, Dave. I asked you prior to getting on the show. What do you think Tyreek Hill's, props are for today? And everybody's typically guessing in the 80 range, 85 range. He's at 71.5 where I got it at DraftKings. I think it went up a couple yards. Certain spots at 74, 75. Make sure you shop your props, get the best line, get the best market. If you have questions on how to do so, you can hit us up in Discord. But Tyreek Hill over 71.5. Probably one of my bigger bets all season long. So if you got access, whether it's Prize Picks or over, you're in a legal sports book and you get a good number on Tyreek Hill, I love that. I'm not playing him in DFS, but I think the books are saying Tua is so much better of a quarterback than Teddy Bridgewater. I don't think that gap is as tremendous. Maybe, Tua can be more effective at times, but I think Teddy can go out there and win a game for him. So I got Tyreek Hill over his 70.5. And then Christian Kirk, another name that if he plays his 4 quarters, his number was super low, 15.5. I was waiting for reports this morning. I saw the report come out that he's going to be playing, run over quickly to DK and hit that bet. Also, the number on Diggs, Stephon Diggs, he's not on the main slate. I got that in at 67.5. I think it's still up there on DraftKings. And then Amari Cooper, I got at 56.5. But the big one is Tyreek. So those are my bets on the prop market. I'm attacking these wide receivers. I think Cooper's in a great spot. I know home road splits, but Washington can be beat through the air. So I think that's a low number on him. So those are the props I'm on. Dave, you on any wide receiver props, or are you sticking to the DFS game right now?
No, I mean, we talked earlier about McCaffrey in the receiving yards, but I also like Drake London over 58.5 yards today receiving. He's found a rapport with the new quarterback in there and Desmond Ridder, and he's had 2 straight games of 7+ receptions. So I think London versus, an Arizona team we love to attack through the air. I like London's 58.5. I think it's low today, and I think they're going to absolutely be able to get him the ball in space.
Yeah, so as far as DFS goes, like I said, if you can get up to Jefferson, I got him slightly ahead of Tyreek as far as production in a game. Prop markets like Jefferson more. I just attacked Tyreek Hill, got my exposure in the prop market. I think his number's way too low. But if I had to pick between the two to put in a lineup, I would go Justin Jefferson. But I don't think many people are playing Tyreek because of Tua being out. But I think Teddy can get the job done. St. Brown.
Real quick, Mark made a good point. It is 74.5 now on DK. Does that change your mind with Tyreek?
I would still bet it.
Yeah.
I think he goes over 85, 90, potentially over 100. I'm not worried about it. Those 3, I would still go ahead and do it. At 74, still a good number for me. Tyreek's a 80, 90, 100-yard guy. Typically, his props are in the 90 range. I guess a little bit of discount for New England, a little bit of discount because of Teddy, but I think he's in a good spot. Now, as far as DFS goes, like I said, Amon-Ra going to be the most popular. Garrett Wilson, one of the most popular. I think Keenan Allen's in a great spot as a pivot off of St. Brown. Christian Kirk, I'm going to leave just for the prop market. I'm not touching Devontae Adams. No way, no how. Some people were calling up Sirius last night, asking for like fringe players. Should I start Dotson over Devontae Adams? I said, look, you can't do that, but you're not playing him in DFS. Mike Williams, kind of sneaky, but the volume's really going to Keenan Allen, but Mike Williams definitely in play for GPPs. Judy's a little bit banged up. Great matchup. I don't love it, but I know our guy Sticks is high on Cortland Sutton. If Judy, for any reason, is out because he's still kind of hanging with a questionable tag, Sutton is he's in play regardless, but he definitely gets a huge bump if Judy's out. And that's the same thing that goes with Allen Lazard. If Watson is out, Lazard gets a big bump. Dobbs gets a big bump. I like them regardless because they're both, going to be active. It's not like Watson's going to be, 100% here. He's basically hasn't practiced all week and he sat out the second half of that game. So Lazard and Dobbs in play. Ayuk I was looking at in the prop market. I just don't know if the volume's going to be there in a great matchup against Vegas, but a team that can't score with San Fran. I'm off Evans. Juju is always in play at 5,600. Off Michael Pittman. Pretty much off Waddle at this price, but he can do it anytime. Pretty much off your guy Devontae Smith. Why? It's just I don't think New Orleans sucks, man. Like they really do suck.
3 100-yard games in his last 4, no less than 8 targets in his last 8 games. I think he's absolutely great value at that price.
My thought is the Saints suck, man. They can't score more than 14 points. Eagles defense pretty good. Similar to your comment earlier, I think it's more of a contain the game flow, run the ball game where you don't need ceiling Devontae. Like at 7,100, you need you need kind of ceiling Devontae at that price. If he was like 55, 6,000 in an average game, he can go out there and do it. 7,100 if you're trying to take down a GPP. I played him last week. He was the reason why I won a bunch of money last week, but just think it's a different matchup where they don't need to score as much to beat New Orleans. New Orleans struggles scoring against mediocre teams. So that's the only reason I'm off it, but he's got the talent to go up there and score 2 touchdowns, catch over, 7 passes for 100 yards. So I'm not saying he's out of the player pool, but he wouldn't be like in my optimal build.
Understood. Yeah.
Marquise Brown, kind of interesting, but I hate the guy. I just think he's a waste. I'm not really there on him. Zay Jones. Yeah, Dortch is a guy that I feel like a lot of people are going to be playing. Zay Jones, I'm kind of out on, but I can see the reason to go there. Same thing with Drake London. Prefer him in a prop market. Thoughts on DJ Moore, though, in a meaningful game? Any love there for DJ?
Yeah, I think DJ, listen, he came up big late last week, but here's the thing, with Carolina, and we've seen it lately, they're a beast at running the ball. And that kind of takes away a little bit of DJ Moore, but it also opens him up late in the game. So I'll be interested to see how they use him again today. I don't know if I love him at 5,700. And in fact, I don't, but I know that he does have some value there. We did have a question in the chat about Lockett. I don't think he's limited today. And I think that came in from Jaden. That was a hand injury. If he's good to go, which they say he is, I think he's full bore. So I would start your Locketts over the guys that you talked about a little bit earlier in the chat. So I wouldn't be afraid. If he's going to play, I don't think they limit him.
Yeah, he's probably not going to be limited. Just I don't know how effective. So it's a tough one between him.
Yeah,
him and Marquise Brown. It's a tough one, man. They both got. Yeah, I guess take the security with Lockett there. Now, question for you, Dave. This guy right here, Jacoby Myers, man. I've been targeting Miami's defense. I'm not a Mac Jones guy. I'm not a really New England offense type of guy, but is there anybody with the injuries that New England has, must-win game, any of these pass catchers make sense to you?
No, only Jacoby probably. And I mean, he's still like last game, he had a nice solid 20-point game against Cincinnati. A lot of it was off that tip ball, I think, for a touchdown. So it was, it was a little bit lucky, but lucky is what we need sometimes in DFS. I think he still gets the volume. He had 6 catches. I think he had 8 targets in that game. So if it's anybody in the passing game, it's Jacoby Myers. And you're right. Listen, target, against the Miami defense, especially their secondary, Lazard and Watson all had big target games last week.
Yeah, so talking about your guy Blau and Greg Dortch here.
Well, and again, I'm not sitting here running out and stacking that.
No, I'm saying if you go Blau and Dortch, that's $7K between the two of them.
Yeah.
Is that a combo that you feel confident that exceeds value? Because Dortch is popping as one of the best values on the slate. Look, even when Hopkins was out there, Dortch was getting all the touches, all the targets. So he's popping in our model here at 3K as a top 5 value, along with Cortland Sutton, a New England receiver or two, some Jets receivers. Talk about Dortch, man, because everybody's going to be asking about this guy at 3K.
Yeah, I love it. And I think the guys, if you love Jefferson, which I mean, rightfully so, you should. He has 8 games this year of over 30 plus DK points. And if you love Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is just seeing target after target, 10.5 over the past 9 weeks. If you want to find a way to get those two in your lineups, you're going to sit on a cheap quarterback, maybe a Goff, but you could go as low as Blau and pair him up with Dortch. It's just the environment I like. It's a good weather, but it's also a good pass, a pass defense to attack in Atlanta. I think we can get some value there. So it would only be Dortch and Blau for me. I don't think I get into the Hollywood. I don't touch Connor if I'm doing that. So it's a light stack if I get there, and Dortch would be my guy. I think, last game it was McSorley, but he got all the targets underneath. And that offensive line is bleeding, so they got to get the ball out quick.
What do you think about the Jets receivers? Is it just flow into Wilson and that's the only guy you want to go to? Or do you trust, some Elijah Moore in the mix?
It's not Elijah for me. It's actually Corey Davis. The last time
Okay.
Corey Davis linked up with Mike White, he had 10 targets, 5 for 85. He ended up getting. So Corey's been a little bit banged up. Did play last week, but come on, you can't count that one with Zach Wilson there. So I like Garrett Wilson. I like Corey Davis. Elijah could be in play, but I like Corey a lot more at 3,700. You're getting a really nice value pick there, I think, below the 4K.
Anything in the Rams game on the Rams side of things? Van Jefferson popping a little bit. I've seen Tutu Atwell be a thing for a minute, and everybody's off the Tutu train now. You got Higbee that we'll talk about tight end, but any of these guys from the Ram side look interesting. I see a prop on Van Jefferson. I always shop our props over the Sharp app. FanDuel's got him at 34. The rest of the books pretty much have him at 38.5 yards. Do you like that at all as a potential prop? And as far as DFS goes, any of these guys pop off to you?
Yeah, I don't know if I like Van Jefferson. He just hasn't been getting the targets. They're not very good in the passing game, even though they put up that 50 burger against Denver last week. But a lot of that was Cam Akers. And then the second part of that was Higbee. Higbee had a really big game, 2 touchdowns, 11 targets. So if I like anything, and I know we're getting the tight ends in that game, it would be Higbee more than anything in that Rams passing game.
So let's talk tight ends a little bit. Kelsey, not really paying off his salary many of days, even though he's got the best quarterback in the league by his side. So for the most part, you can obviously play Kelsey any day of the week. 8,100 though, he's going to be pricey, but he's got the highest ceiling. If they want to use him, they want to showcase him, he can score 3 touchdowns any given week. I'm not a Hockenson guy. It burned me a little bit last week, but I'm not going back to him this week against Green Bay. Fine play at 5,400. I'm just not. I'll lose or win with or without him in my lineup, but he's in play. Kittle, 5,900. Yeah, he's in play again. They're using him a bunch now with no Debo there. Priced up a little bit. It's tough to get there between those two guys, but if you were paying up, would you pay all the way up for Kelsey, or would you go to Hockenson or Kittle here?
Kittle. I'm with you. That's way too much for Kelsey. In a game environment with a 12.5-point spread, you don't know which way that game could go. I mean, they did play a tight game against Denver the first time, but this one could get out of hand quick. And, you probably need 20 points for that salary to pay off. So I think I start to draw my line and snap the chalk right at Kittle and start looking low. And I guess one of the guys I like the most there is Njoku. You talked about it earlier in the in that environment where you like Cooper a little bit, Watson, Sticks likes, I do think you're going to be able to move the ball in the air against Washington. And I think Njoku, weather's nice in the Northeast, right? I think you're going to be able to throw. Njoku could really pay off at that salary.
Thoughts on Higbee and Cole Kmet? Look, Evan Ingram, we got to talk about him too. If everybody's playing for Jacksonville, these 3 guys are all really fairly priced.
Yep.
We got Kmet slightly ahead because everybody's banged up for Chicago, and they have a nice matchup against Detroit. So if you're going with Justin Fields, you either run him naked or you can run him with Kmet. I think both those are in play. Ingram, look, he's the unstoppable force right now for Jacksonville. He's kind of gained confidence along with Trevor Lawrence. They're winning games here. So I haven't played him the last couple of weeks. He's been going off. He's been going bonkers. So he's definitely in the player pool at tight end. He's got a high ceiling here if he plays 4 quarters. Kmet has a ceiling as well, and Higbee had a massive game. And so ownership, if you're making like 150 lineups, how many shares of Kmet, Evan Ingram, and Higbee will you have?
I'll get more into the Higbee and Kmet game. I saw someone comment earlier, it might have been Brian, and I'm with you. I'm scared of the Jacksonville game. As much as they say they're going to play their starters, this game means absolutely nothing to them. It's next week, all or nothing. So I could see a very dried up game plan, and also one where they pull starters by half. So I just, that's me. I'm kind of staying away from Jacksonville, and rightfully so. They stink against Houston. You mentioned it. So I'll probably get more the 20% kind of share of the Kmet and Higbee game plan. If I'm building 150, I kind of like those in that range. I like building the tight end in that 4K, maybe even a couple bucks under range. Chargy asked a question earlier. Do we like Dalvin over James Conner? And the answer is yes. Green Bay's run defense. They're just look. I like Conner a lot today, but if you're talking season-long fantasy, it's Dalvin. If you're talking DFS, I might lean Conner.
I kind of feel good about this, but I hope everybody else
Yeah,
already took him
we're
up to
moving the
76.
needle.
But you know what though? I don't even want to say this out loud, but every time I get like great closing line value on props, something fucking bad happens. Like every single time, like I get it at 70, it goes up to like 82 somehow, some way, and then like someone gets hurt or stinks to bed. So hopefully that doesn't happen today because I got a lot of money running on Tyreek Hill. I think he goes over 80, so it's still a decent play at 76.5. Obviously better at 71.5. But one guy who burned me last week in some props was Hunter Henry. I'm like looking at the box score. I'm like, why is this dude not getting looks, not getting touches? And then I see he's out. He ran into another receiver. I don't know if he hurt his quad or his leg, whatever the hell happened to him, but wasn't happy about that. 3K. There's no Jonnu Smith this week. That was like the dumbest idea ever. Go give a lot of money to Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, and then draft a tight end too. Like I don't know what Belichick or the upper brass was thinking there, but Henry is probably my favorite guy. 3K or lower. Conklin makes some sense as well at 2,900. Yep. Those would be the two guys I'd feel the best about because they at least have a quarterback that's competent. I guess if you want to take a shot on Logan Thomas or Noah Fant because there's no Will Dissly. Yep. I think those are the four guys that I would lean on. I just looked at Hunter Henry's prop. I think you get it like at 22.5. I don't hate it. I don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger there. This Jawan Johnson show, I'll miss it again if it happens. Like it keeps happening. Like it's kind of like Cordarrelle Patterson last year. Like I'm not doing it. It just keeps happening. He keeps scoring touchdowns, and I wouldn't be shocked if he scores another one this week. Jelani Woods, same thing. Kind of interesting at 2,800, but I just think there's a lot safer plays for $200 to $500 a head. Yep. That's where I'm not going lower than Font. I like the 4.5 to 4,000 range with the guys you talked about. I'm crossing off Gerald Everett there and Goddard. Those two guys I won't be playing, but Kmet, Ingram, Njoku, Higbee, that's kind of like the sweet spot if you got the salary there. If not, it's Conklin and Henry and maybe some Thomas and Font. Trey McBride, I was hopeful last week. I played a couple shares in whatever slate that was, that mini, was a Christmas Day slate, whatever it was. He got a couple points, but that offense is kind of trash right now. So now defense, we'll go through it quick. It's, it's all over the place. It really is. There's certain spots that we can attack, and there's certain spots that, it's defense. We're hoping for the best, Niners, though, like I just noticed this. Niners are mispriced at 2,900. That doesn't make any sense. So just lock the Niners, man. Don't even think twice. Like I just noticed that. I'm like, I had to check on our optimizer to make sure that there wasn't like a typo. I still don't believe it's real at this point. Like, why are the Niners one of the best defenses in the league? Only $2,900 on DK. Someone like meant to hit the $3,900 thing, and he pressed the wrong button. He or she at DraftKings definitely made a mistake there. So just lock the Niners. I really think that's the way to go, man. It really is.
I'm with you.
Yeah, like why would you play anybody else other than the Niners this week? But if you don't want to go to Niners here, a lot of people were asking on Sirius last night for season-long purposes. Felt like everybody either had Jaguars versus the Giants in a matchup. Both in good spots, both going against, quarterbacks that probably shouldn't be starting in the league right now. So Jacksonville makes sense. The New England one, look, they can get there. They're aggressive defense. They're playing a meaningful game. I don't mind that. Eagles make sense. They're a good D. Jets make sense. Chiefs make sense. Not going to the Broncos. I really don't think there's a need to go down there at 2,200. I like the Falcons a little bit against Arizona. There's not moving the ball. No thank you on the Saints. No thank you really on the Lions. No thank you on the Browns. Bucks okay at 3K. Dave, Arizona potentially as well. Who's your favorite? I don't think you go. If you got, like, I would almost like build around the Niners, man. Like, it's too obvious. Don't make every lineup with the Niners, but you should be able to get there at $2,900. If you can't get there, I guess I go probably the Falcons at 2,700. If If you got to drop down below $2,700, which I really wouldn't want to do, but I guess save 100 and get to the Patriots. But really try to get the Niners or Falcons, 2,900, 2,700, and make some slight adjustments elsewhere, man.
Yeah, and I could even get to the Texans at 2,500, talking about we don't know what Jacksonville's going to roll out there. And Texans have created 22 turnovers.
Yeah, they played well, man. Somehow, some way, they almost beat the Chiefs and the Cowboys in back-to-back weeks, man.
Yeah, and they put up a couple duds, but on average, they're 6-7 points a game.
And the Jaguars can't beat them.
No, they can't.
Like legit can't. Like their year was on the line last year in the same spot in week 18, and they couldn't beat him. They almost got shut out by him. So that's the way to go. Some news: Chase Claypool's active, Judy active as well. Thanks, Julian. Happy New Year's to you, bud. Happy New Year's to everybody. Anybody have any questions right now? This is the time to ask all your questions. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. Make sure you go to windailysports.com, lock in with our projections, hop in our expert chat as well. Dave, while waiting for some questions here, favorite stack of the slate or favorite game to stack up, who would it be?
Yeah, I mean, it's simple, but obviously with a 52.5 game total, Detroit and Chicago looks too juicy to ignore. The St. Brown Fields and St. Brown run back, I think, looks pretty good to me. I don't think I'm going to get in there with 4 or 5 players in that game. But if I get a little wild, I'll go Golf St. Brown and maybe some sort of cheap Bears run back. But another game that I just think goes really under the radar and we got to keep an eye on, and I think you've talked about it, but the Minnesota Green Bay game could be one of those that really just pops off. So that could be one where I invest a little bit more of my player pool in. It'll be wider for that game than it is for Detroit, Chicago. But both those NFC North games, by the way, look really intriguing today.
Yeah, Olave is active as well. I know people are waiting on him. Dave, talk about your favorite quarterback here. Got a question here about your guy Blau.
Where's that? Oh, okay. Have you guys talked about Blau? Yes, and I do like him at 4K. I mean, if we liked Ellinger at 4K several weeks ago, there's no reason to not. These 4K values, I think, are a chance for you to be able to pay up and get better players in other positions, obviously. So if I do Blau, I talked about it earlier, I do Blau with just one player. I don't go full game stack, and I'm probably leaning towards Dortch in that essence. At least that's how I've built my lineup so far.
Guys, he only likes Dave Blau because he's got the same name as him. That's the only reason why he likes him. That's the only reason.
And he had a good Thanksgiving Day game once or something. I remember him out there.
Yeah, Pickens is not on the main slate, but if you're playing like a Sunday full slate, included the late game, he's okay, man. He's disappointed in me. I think wait till next year on this dude. Not a guy that I'm really going to go to. Question here on Gage as a pivot over Dortch. Nah, he's like a number 3, 4, or maybe even 5 option if you're considering the running back. So I'm off him. Brady's going to throw, yes, but you're really hoping for some lucky 2 touchdowns out of Gage to really get there. I don't see.
If Julio's out and he's questionable.
If Julio's out, you can get there, but I think I'd rather go to like an Elijah Moore to get off of Dortch, over that, or maybe take a shot at one of the New England wide receivers. Fournette on FD. Yeah, Fournette's in play on both sites. He probably scores a touchdown here. Stingy defense out of, Carolina. So I'm okay with it. Dave, another Philly question here. Minshew plus 600 anytime TD. I think I go text Tony for this one, but he's an anytime TD whisperer.
Yeah, the only reason I go no is because he got one last week. I mean, you're playing plus 600 odds. Banking on a guy to get it 2 weeks in a row. If you would have bet that, it was probably like plus 3,000. So he had to get the half-yard sneak from to get in last week. So I think in this case, I go no, but it's fun. It's fun. I don't disagree with taking a shot on some fun there.
Yeah, just so anybody missed it, props I like is Tyreek Hill over his receiving yards prop. Stephon Diggs, before that number goes up, I got it at 67.5. There's some questionable tags on him. Is he sick? What's going on? I got him at 67.5. I like Christian Kirk over 50.5. I like who's the other guy? Amari Cooper over, I think it was 55 or 56.5. I got that last night as well. Those are the 4 props I'm big on. Highest on Tyreek, second highest on Stephon Diggs, and then I got about 1 unit on the other 2 I mentioned. Hunter Henry, Ramondre Stevenson are both active. I think Stevenson is kind of sneaky. Now that I get reminded about that.
But Harris is playing. I think Harris is playing today, right?
Yeah, he's playing. That's why I think he makes him even more sneakier.
Okay.
But it's New England running back, so it's not like I'm going to go all in on it. But if you want to make like a big GPP flyer game stack with like Tyreek and some Miami, I think Stevenson is definitely playable. He could get all touches again. It's New England. Like you said, Dave, I think Green Bay and Minnesota is a game stack if you want to get off Detroit, Chicago. Another kind of mini game stack. I like the Chargers side of things. Herbert to Keenan Allen. I think that can get there. And then maybe running back, a Higbee, or maybe taking a shot at Cam Akers in a good matchup against the Chargers defense. Other than that, I guess a jet stack in play against Seattle. But I don't really like running anybody back for Seattle, but I don't mind a cheap stack of like a Mike White, Garrett Wilson, under 11K quarterback wide receiver combination. Patrick Mahomes always in play. He's definitely going to go out there and put up 20, 25 points. I know our guy Sticks was on Watson. I think Lawrence is sneaky here. Him and Christian Kirk, everybody's going to come off them saying that he's not playing. Certain people saying they are playing, so he can be another stack. I'm not really focusing in too much on this Atlanta-Arizona game. Not too much Giants-Colts. Not too much Cleveland Browns-Commanders, but Watson to Cooper is a thing. So we'll see what happens. Dave, any last thoughts, man? Any other props or bets, game bets that you want to mention?
No, I think, you lined up yours with the ones I talked about earlier. Look at McCaffrey. His number keeps going up, but Vegas terrible against running backs, especially in the pass game. So over 31.5 receiving yards. I haven't seen a receptions total out there, but if it gets too high, you could look at the receptions market too. Also look at Drake London over his 58.5. Just with the target shares he's getting with Ritter, I really like his total yards over the 58.5 today.
Yeah, Shark is definitely playable with St. Brown. Just make sure if you do that, you have Jared Goff. You want 350 from Goff, over 100 from St. Brown, and maybe you get to 80, 100 yards from Shark as well. It's definitely playable. If you do that, most likely going to need a Chicago piece to run back. Trelawney Woods, Barkley, mini stack. Brian, I don't hate that, man. You're paying up for one guy, and you're going to get a cheap option to run back. Not a bad thing. Yvonne is here, and Christian Watson may only play on third down. Bump up Lazard. I'm waiting for this guy's prop to come out. I think Romeo Dubs, guy looked good when he came back as well. So, Lazard, Garrett Wilson combination, cheap. You got the cheap running backs in Robertson and Miles Sanders. So it's like 4 5K guys that kind of build around for my cash games. Lazard, Wilson, Robertson, Sanders. You got 4 guys right there at 5K. You throw Jared Goff in there for 5K, and then you can fill out the rest of your lineup with studs, whether you want to go up top to Jefferson or wherever you want to go up top to. You got 5 guys at 5K. You got a cheap San Fran defense there, too, at 2,900. You should be cashing right there. It could go wrong, but you should be cashing there. Everybody, appreciate you all checking in. The conversation will continue over in our Discord. So go to windailysports.com. Hop in our Discord, and right around the corner, we got playoffs. Dave, good luck to you. You better take it down, man. You better take it down. First year in the Win Daily League. It'd be a nice little statement if you take it down. So good luck in that. Who am I rooting for? A quarterback? Who do I need to score some points?
Josh Allen.
Oh, that should be easy. Good matchup. Yeah. He's going to throw for more than 67.5 yards to Diggs. I'll tell you that much.
I'm okay. He has Diggs, but I'm okay. Keep him out of the end zone. You can get your 67.5 wins.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, he throws like 80, 90 to Diggs, but then he runs in for touchdowns every single time.
Yeah.
Allen gets in for you. So everybody, good luck in your fantasy football championships. Good luck in the prop market and betting markets. Head over to windailysports.com. We'll continue the conversation there. We are out of here, and let's all have a good 2023.